Welcome to The Favorites, the podcast presented by Bet365. We are part of the Volume Podcast Network. I am Chad Millman of the Action Network. Today is our Tuesday, Week 9 episode, where we break down the entire slate of NFL games. We will discuss our exec decision, our Simon Says, and we will start to narrow down the options for our Fave Fives to put into the Favorites Podcast $100,000 Pro Football Pick'em contest. We went 3-2 this week. We had a strong 3-0 start to the day in the early games. We had a heartbreaking mess of a loss with the Bears that a lot of listeners, a lot of viewers got to experience live on Sunday night as the bet and the Bears melted down before my eyes. If you want to see someone almost stroking out in real time on air, feel free to find that clip, which has been played numerous times, of me watching this game live while we lost the bet after I mistakenly said we're 4-0 when the Bears had 23 seconds left to screw it up. We also had a Cowboys loss that I did not witness because I drugged myself with all sorts of cough medicine and went to bed. Here we are live from our Tommy John home studios. I'm joined as always by my co-host, my companion, my compadre, my professional bettor, Simon Hunter. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Chad. It is a new week. You sound better. You look better. Hopefully, you're feeling a little better than you were Sunday.
No joke, brother. I, until 15 minutes ago, was hacking up a lung.
Oh, God.
Like, I don't even know why I'm not right now. I'm not going to look into it. I'm not going to try to understand it. I'm just going to appreciate the fact that I'm able to be on the air right now without losing it for the second straight show, maybe. Underdogs of at least 7 this year, Simon, are 9-11 straight up. Most upset wins since 2008 this past week. That included the Browns and the Pats. We've got 4 of those games this week, all of which we will review. We did have a bit of a return to normalcy this week. Road favorites were well below 500 after a 3-week stretch of dominance. Road teams overall performed poorly, but the public did win again this week. They went 9-6 against the spread. Miami, Arizona was a complete 50-50 split. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
I will tell you, the conversation about the Bears in my small, tiny corner of the world has gone from what we witnessed Sunday night to text chains galore. Last night, it was my younger son's 18th birthday. We went to dinner. Me, him, and my wife, our older son, is in Philly at college. And half of the conversation was about the Bears, the Hail Mary. The other half, for some reason, was about whether or not Anthony Rizzo deserved a statue at Wrigley Field because he's so popular, and the Bears and the Cubs won a World Series with him. I'm like, dude, 260 hitters aren't getting statues because they win a World Series, but it's the exuberance of youth. The Bears, dude, you collect all of the coaching mishaps in that game. The poor discipline, handing the ball to a backup offensive lineman, the way they managed that Hail Mary, letting them get that 13 yards to get even closer, like unwrapping it just makes it even worse, Simon. It really does.
You got to sing the song, Chad. Let it go. Let it go.
You can't hold me back anymore.
You got to move on. You guys are a 1-point favorite this week. They got to move on. It's a new week.
Are we or are we not? That is the question. In a moment, we'll recap the results of week 8 in our contest, announce the winner of our big weekly cash prize. If you haven't yet, be sure to sign up for the free Favorites Podcast, $100,000 Pro Football Pick'em contest presented by Bet365. Just visit favorites.actionnetwork.com. We are still giving away weekly cash prizes. As a reminder, the Favorites Podcast is presented by Bet365. And now New Bet365 customers get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Sign up using promo code favorites, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $200 in bonus bets. Sign up using those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. Congratulations to Week 8 first place winner Jay Houston GT. Jay Houston went 5-0 and missed Monday Night Football tiebreaker by 4, so he takes home our weekly $1,000 cash prize. Well done. As always, Matt Mitchell, our producer, has selected his Producer's Cup award to the entry that finished dead fucking last in the contest. This week's Producer Cup goes to Why Not Us, who went 0-5 and missed the tiebreaker by 219 yards. Why Not Us? Please email our producer at podcasts@actionnetwork.com to claim your prize. Time to go to week 9, Simon. Despite the way I sound, I feel really, really good. First game up Thursday night. You were all over the Rams last week. You loved the Rams. You loved it so much. You had to talk about it on Thursday. It was one of your biggest bets of the week. Houston is visiting the New York Jets. The Jets are now 2-point favorites.
Crazy.
They were 1-point favorites on Sunday night. Your line was, this is fishy, and that you were going to take the Texans. What in God's name is moving this number right now? You look at the data, all the tickets, all the money on the Texans. Is this like a small group just taking a stand that the Texans have been underperforming and getting lucky, and the Jets are good but have just been bad, so they have to get better? Why is this line going up?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of stuff too. We're professionals. They like home teams on Thursday from the get go, right? Because there's no travel in a short week, especially where, say what you want about the Colts, but that Houston game was pretty hard hitting, and now it's a short week where they have to travel. We saw it the week before, right, with the Vikings playing Detroit. It's tough when you play those grueling divisional games that are close to the end, and then you have to travel in 3 days to go play a football game. It is pretty crazy. So I'm not going to be. To me, it's just. The books are trying to scare us off, Chad. That's what it feels like to me. They're trying to show that there's professional movement here, that professional money's coming in pretty heavy on this Jets team. You could say that every week for the last 3 weeks, professional money is coming on this Jets team. I mean, they've just been betting them, and me and you joked about it 5 weeks ago, and it holds true today. What would the Jets be if they just got a different kicker? Like, they've made all these crazy moves. At the end of the day, doesn't it really just come down to this kicker? I mean, it is football. It's such a simple game, and these teams try to make it so complicated. They need to do all these different things where it's like you're losing these games because of special teams. So great, keep moving the number. I'll be the public sucker here with everyone else. I mean, Thursdays have been really good to me this year. I think I'm 6-2 this year on Thursdays, and usually if this was a Sunday game, I could be talking to the Jets because this is such a pros versus Joes game. But on Thursday, I mean, you talked about it. We throw that out the window. It's the public wins on Thursdays. It's the truth. So, like last week, people were like, "Oh, you just fading the Vikings because it's the public," and it was like, "No, you're getting a really good number on a team that's getting healthy." This is not that same spot. And I know Houston's had injuries here, but at what point does the number catch up to that? So, we talked. Houston's a different team with Joe Mixon in the backfield. And this is a Joe Mixon game. Now, he got a little banged up at the end of the game last week, so I'll have to look more into that. But as we sit here right now, I have made a bet on this one. I'm going to bet Houston, though. I'm hoping it gets a 2.5 because people know how I just think that's such a key number. And, yeah, this is a bizarre game. I'm actually excited for this game because this number is so bizarre. The movement of this line is so bizarre, but we just talked about, like, there's multiple professional groups who just have been betting this Jets team, and they're getting caught. And I was one of them. Last week, I had the Jets in a bunch of different teasers. I thought there was no way they dropped that game to the Patriots. And it took a miracle, but they dropped that game. So, yeah, I'm in on Houston here, but I'll just wait to get a better number.
Yeah, it's interesting with these Thursday night games that what you would classify as the better team has been winning the games
Yeah.
because when you have less prep, the players who are better are the ones that you technically want to back. And last
And
week
talk
was
about
a
a coaching mismatch here.
right. I mean, and that's also a big part of it, right?
Yeah.
Last week was an anomaly with the Vikings and the Rams. You would think that the Rams were the team that was not necessarily the better team, but they got Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup back, and that
Yeah. Game
changes the
changers.
calculus on that team immediately. And then you've got the better quarterback in Matthew Stafford and a really good coach in McVay. There's no one who believes in the Jets coaching staff right
No.
now. Even the Jets don't believe in the Jets coaching staff. So it's a fascinating game. And like, there are certain teams and wise guys get stubborn, professionals get stubborn.
Yeah.
I know what the model says. I know what the number says. It can't keep going as bad as it is. And yet it's going as bad as it is. So I don't mind it. I'm with you. I haven't bet it yet. I'm probably going to wait until game time like I did with the Rams last week. But
You're having the same thing as me, though. It's such a fishy line. We don't even want to touch it yet because we don't understand what's happening. So
yeah, we
I'm
don't,
with you on that.
I haven't heard enough.
Yeah.
Uh, Denver at Baltimore. Baltimore is now a 9-point favorite.
Crazy.
This opened at 8.5 on Sunday, went to 9, back down to 8.5, back to 9. It was pretty evenly split between tickets and money in the early going. Now, slightly more tickets on the Ravens, I'm sorry, slightly more tickets on and money on the Broncos than on the Ravens. Um, Look, the Broncos rushing offense is terrible. They will not be able to run on the Ravens, which have the top ranked rushing D. I think that's actually an advantage for the Broncos. You're laughing at me, but let me explain. They like to let it loose. Sean Payton has not treated Bo Nix like a rookie at all. He's basically said to him, figure it the fuck out, dude. Like, you're throwing deep. We're doing trick plays. I'm not limiting the playbook. And that Ravens secondary is just out of sorts. Ross Tucker, our good friend Ross Tucker, talked about this on the broadcast last week. They have so many drives and so many plays where they look confused and they don't know what they're doing as the ball is snapped. And he's like, it shows up on film every single week. And the fact they are giving up the most points in the NFL in the second half. 9 is just a big number for a Broncos team that has proven this year they're going to keep playing, keep going, take every rep as a possibility for the future of Bo Nix being better. Even in this Panthers game, they kept throwing the ball. So I kind of lean Broncos here.
Yeah, and I think Humphrey is supposed to be out, and so is Nate Wiggins, which, as much as we want to bash this Ravens secondary, those two guys have been really good this year. They've just faced really tough competition. And we saw last week with Jameis, he almost got it to the end there. The Kyle Hamilton should have picked it, but overall in
Yes.
that whole game, he was great, and there was open receivers streaking down the field. And not only did the injuries catch up to the Ravens there, but we talked. I just don't trust their coaches to make adjustments. And what happened that second half? They got blown out. Like the first half, they played so well, and then the adjustments were made by Cleveland. There was no counter by the Ravens, and that's been my whole take. I mean, you keep talking every week about it. The Ravens have given up the most second half points in the league, right? I feel like we've talked about that where
Yeah, yeah, totally.
they've struggled in the
Dude, I
second
just
half.
said it.
So,
I just said it.
um, I how do we not take the Broncos here? So this is
Yeah.
another game where I need to look more into it because I don't get this line. I make this line 7. It's all the way past the key number of 7.5, 8.5, up to 9 now. I'll take it. Like I'm going to take this number, and just because I get the Ravens are going to bounce back here, I understand they'll be able to move the ball, and we're betting on Bo Nix on the road in this position. But Chad just said it. Like this kid isn't treated like a rookie, and I'm trying not to treat him as one. We've seen him. I mean, they had that run there. They went to Tampa. They won on the road, and I think they went up to New York. I know it was a fluky because the Jets again missed field goals, but they kept that game close and won that game. Like this is a team has not been scared, especially with Bo Nix, to go on the road and win these games. And as dominant the Ravens have been offensively, Denver's defense is no just walkover. Their defense
Dude, they
has
are
actually played
fierce.
Yes, I agree, and I just think this is way too much way too much number not to take at +9. I wanted to avoid this game just because we are so due for a Ravens just to roll a team by 30 points and Denver to play bad, right? I mean, they're literally half a game away from hitting their win total. We're not even at the midway point. Like, this is a team that has overachieved so much. And then we have a team in the Ravens that are a veteran team coming off a brutal divisional loss. This is usually where they kill a team like this, especially with a rookie quarterback. So
Yes.
just being weary, not guaranteed to be one of our 5, but man, I mean, I'm betting this right now. Like, literally bet it before it came on the air. It's a couple books are back up to 9. I'm going to bet it again just because it's crossed that key number again. So very interesting to see what the pros have to say about this one, because right now I love it, but there must be something I'm missing here just because this number is so high.
Well, look, you nailed it on the adjustments, and that is something that Sean Payton excels at, right?
Yeah.
He's one of the best coaches in the NFL in 20 years at making adjustments at halftime to improve his team's chances to win in the second half. And if we're talking about the Broncos defense, it is a legit top 5 defense, right? Their front 4, they have the best passing defense in the league in passing efficiency. They're 3rd in pressure rate. No one really stops Lamar.
No.
I don't mind backing Denver on the promise of a big second half from Bo Nix. Jameis tore that defense apart in the second half. When he threw his touchdown pass to win the game, it was the 21st completion of 25 or more yards given up by Baltimore, which leads the NFL. So I do not worry about backing Denver here right now.
Yeah.
Right now. Las Vegas and Cincinnati. This is a game that we talked about on Sunday night a little bit.
Yeah.
And it opened at 7.5, got up to 8.5 while we were recording, actually. It got up to 8.5 and then dropped back down almost to the minute when we were discussing that the Raiders were our early lean. I read this week that Desmond Ridder may get some snaps
Yikes.
because Gardner Minshew, who we love, cannot hold on to the ball. Another costly turnover against the Chiefs, which almost cost us our cover.
Yeah.
They have the most turnovers in the league, the most fumbles in the league, the second most INTs. They could win the turnover triple crown, Simon. So this makes it a very hard to bet on them in a non-spot situation,
Right.
which we did last week against the Chiefs. And the Bengals are free falling. But what's the status with T. Higgins? To me, that's sort of the difference between maybe this is a play and maybe this isn't a play at all.
Yeah, but honestly, though, if that Desmond Ritter news is true, I wouldn't touch this game. I'll probably end up having a little just thrown on the money line of Vegas here just because this Bengals team, I mean, let's be honest, even talking about last week, who are they to be that big of a favorite at home when they haven't won a home game yet this season? And you can get the Raiders at +300 right now against this Bengals team that they could just implode and fold in on themselves at any moment. But I talked about last week, they seem like the type of team that they can beat up on bad teams, and they struggle against good teams. We both agree Raiders are a bad team, not just because of the injuries, not just because of the coaching mishaps, but at the end of the day, it's the quarterback, right? Minshew's been bad this year. I don't think it's going to be any better when they turn to their backup. So this is a game I wanted us to bet, especially when it was at 8.5. Now there's other lines I've kind of fallen in love with and I like more than this one. So I have no issue passing on this one here. It's just so tempting to take the money line on the Raiders. But, man, if it's Desmond Ridder, me and Chad already went through this last year. I can't invest a lot of money into this guy at quarterback.
I'm surprised that Broncos at +9 was not your Simon Says. We've got a Simon Says and an exec decision still to come.
Yeah.
New England at Tennessee. It's another one that you pegged on Sunday as liking New England as the 3-point dog. It got bet down to 2.5, immediately went back up to 3. Look, the Patriots are trash. The Titans are trash. And the Titans defense actually isn't terrible, right? They're second against play action in the NFL, first against the deep ball, third when a quarterback is not facing any pressure, third against rushing inside the tackles. Rushing inside the tackles That might be the only thing the Patriots can do.
Yeah.
Um, I really, really wanted to bet on the Titans coming off a blowout. It just feels like when you want to back that kind of team, that scenario is not in the Titans' favor. Uh, Home faves after a loss of 30 plus points, 42% against the spread
Yep.
since 2003, both tickets and even more money on New England right now. New England is feeling more and more like the side. Feels like you kind of nailed it on Sunday night.
Yeah, and honestly though, I've talked to some professionals who do like the Tennessee side, and I'm with you. I think they're just blindly betting it because they just got blown out in a game which it was all special teams, right? It wasn't the offensive's fault. It wasn't the defense's fault. It really was their special teams
Yeah.
fault. And I view it as I'm just playing the number here. I get all that other noise, but you can get 3.5 right now in New England as well. Like there's a couple books out there at 3.5. How do I not take that? That's just too much for this Tennessee team. That I mean, we can go back through it, Chad. We've had so many weeks where we avoided this because we didn't like the line with Tennessee, where I think they're like 2.5 point favorites or they're 3 point favorites, and it's like they didn't really make sense, so we just stayed away from it, and they end up getting like blown out or they lose those games. So I have the same view here. It's like the books, the professionals, for some reason all year have liked this Tennessee team, have respected this Tennessee team, and I'm just not there. So another game, this is 3.5 in our contest. The dogs this week. This is one of the dogs I like. I would not be shocked if you put this in our contest. It's just too many points for a Tennessee team that if they won by 3, I think that'd be a great game from Tennessee. And on the flip side, the Patriots team, as bad as they've been this year, they've been much better than Tennessee. Like they rarely do get blown out. They usually do hang in the games. Like the only game I can really think of was that Houston game where they really did get dominated from their first snap to the end of the game. We talked about Houston's a really good team. Like even on the weeks they don't have it all put together, we know once that offense gets rolling, that they're pretty unstoppable. Same can go for a bunch of teams that Tennessee's played this year, but overall, to me, Tennessee has just struggled, especially against bad teams this year. And it's just. It's to me another coaching game where either side of the ball, I don't trust the coaches on either side. I don't know if you have the same feeling here, but it's really just about the spread. And, it would be great if it was Brissett, but I wouldn't let Drake May being in there throw me totally off. There's things he can do that Brissett can't do that I actually like about Brissett. So, this is a tricky number right now because we don't have a lot of info on the injuries with both sides, but 3.5, I'll grab that right now just in case it does go back down to 3, 2.5.
Right. Is it going to be Will Levis? Is it going to be
Yeah.
Drake May? I just keep thinking of an image of Brian Callahan just clapping into the void, like trying to maintain some enthusiasm on
Yeah.
Sunday against the Lions. And it's just, I feel for these guys. I do, because like your dream in any profession, your dream is for a lot of people, get to the top, be able
Mm-hmm.
to run something in your profession. You believe you can do it better than the person who's doing it where you're at. You've got ideas about how you want to run it, how you're going to treat the people on your team, how you're going to manage creatively. And these jobs don't come up that often. And then you got to take it, and you're taking the freaking Titans job.
Yeah.
Who's got Will Levis and a deconstructed roster. And now they're fire sailing in the middle of the season, or you're taking the Panthers job. We'll get to that game against the Saints. And it's freaking devastating. It
Yeah.
really,
It's like the
it
old saying,
really
though,
is.
there's only 32 of these jobs in the world, but it's like, yeah, but you don't need to take one of the 32 jobs in the world. You can be patient. You don't have to take these jobs.
Well, look at Ben Johnson, right? With the
Yeah,
Lions. Like
he's nailing it.
he's like assiduously avoided taking the first job that comes along, even to
No,
his detriment, maybe in the head coaching search along the way. But then again, you keep firing up an offense, you keep getting your team closer and closer to the Super Bowl. They're not going to care. You're going to have your
no.
pick. New Orleans at Carolina. Carolina's a 7 point home underdog. Listen.
Saints are nothing. I mean,
It. Thank God you said that.
well,
Like,
honestly, me and Matt Mitch were joking last week, Chad. I told him I've just been putting the Panthers in my contest just since that whatever it was, I think it was the Bengals game, was my last time I gave the Carolina Panthers a chance. And they got rolled in that Bengals game. And I've literally gone to the viewpoint of this guy who just keeps just
Yeah, yeah, I
yamming
know.
me the record. And I just keep saying to myself, he's right. This is the worst team in my lifetime I can remember. Honestly, I think this team is worse than the 0-16 Lions team from years ago. Like that team at least covered with Dan Orlovsky because they were undervalued in the market and they would just lose these funky, weird games, end of the games, right? It was just really about a bad team with bad coaching that was unlucky. This is not an unlucky team in the Panthers. This is simply a bad team with bad coaching that have had horrible injury luck. That was the only thing I think they've had is really bad injury luck. Like their best defenders have gotten hurt. They've had injuries to the offensive line. I mean, last week they are basically down to their 3 and 4 receiver, which is already a team that their 1 and 2s aren't 1 and 2. So it's just all bad for Carolina. And Chad knows how hard this is for me to do because I love home divisional dogs. I love them. But this ain't one of them. Like, this is not the time to take this Panthers team, especially with Derek Carr coming back. So, a game I might force in. There's other favorites I do like more than this, but if this is 6.5 in contest, how do we not take it? Who are this Panthers team to be catching this low of a number? Like, again, I think the books, they've adjusted this year, right? Where, okay, maybe the Broncos, 4 years ago should have been plus 10 against this Ravens team. This Panthers team, this should be like a 13 spread. They've not adjusted at all this season to this team. Like every week, I keep thinking we're going to see some huge, massive spread. Even last week, I think they opened at 9 against the Broncos. Then once all the injury news came out, Andy Dalton getting hurt and everything like that, it moved up to 11.5. And for some reason, my stupid fucking brain, I was like, oh, well, now the value's gone. I liked it at 9.5. Now I don't like it at 11.5. As if that matters with this team. I think they lost by whatever it was, 14. They're just terrible in every way. So I like it. I like New Orleans now with Derek Carr back just because I think this is a spark this team needs after such dreadful QB play. Like you could just see this getting this team back around, and this is the perfect game for them to get right. I mean, they put up 50 points the first time they played against each other. Obviously, this is not the same team, right? They've had major injuries to the Saints team, but at the same time, same with the Panthers, they've only gotten much worse since that week 1. So, yeah, it's rare for me to take a huge favorite on the road in a divisional game like this, but that's how bad this Panthers team is right now.
Home division dogs this year, by the way, 6-10-1. Last 2 seasons since the beginning of 2023, 41% against the spread. So not terrible to take a road division favorite. Andy Dalton's status still to be determined. Derek Carr, like you said, will be back. Enough said about this game. Like we're
Yeah,
not going to get crazy. Dallas at Atlanta. This is a tricky game. Very, very tricky game. Like I want to be on the Cowboys here. It
I know.
feels it feels very trappy to bet the Falcons. Remember last week when I was all over the Bengals at -2, -2.5, and you kept trying to warn me, and I'm like, no, come on, this is the way to go here. Like, it's not the exact same, but
No.
the number's the same. And like the Cowboys, they're not a good team, and Dak looks terrible, actually. We called him Mall Santa on Convince Me this week because Kerner had him at under 7.5 rushing yards because he just doesn't leave the pocket. And you could see it on plays. He
Yeah.
had -1 rushing yard. But 2.5, like this Falcons team, there's something that's like, there's something not quite right about them. They're top 3 in the offense in the NFL. That's mainly because Kirk Cousins has played the Bucks twice and thrown for 1,000,000 yards and
Mm.
700 touchdowns, right? So it's either to me Cowboys or nothing. It feels pretty well lined right now.
Yeah, I'm on the other side. I do like Atlanta here. It's just because I agree with you. The Cowboys they seem lost right now. Not just because of all the injuries, but it's the coaching too. I mean, you're up, whatever that was. I feel like it was 10-6, whatever
And
the score
six.
was on the road against the 49ers. And then you give up 21 straight in the third quarter. Like they got completely blown out against that 49ers team that third quarter. And it was just it's all about the adjustments. Like 49ers made great adjustments. You came out, I think Dak threw a pick on his first possession in that second half. And it's just like
Yep.
you said, to me, I try not to fall back too much because he is putting it all on his shoulders. And this, you know, Jerry Jones, I feel like they're all failing Dak right now, a guy who they just gave all that money to, in a bunch of different ways. But yeah, the Atlanta one is interesting because last week, again, we didn't put it in. I like the Atlanta side.
Yep.
The professionals love the Bucks. Like
Yeah.
that number got up to 3 and then went all the way down to 1 right before kickoff. Like big money came in on that Bucks team for what Chad just talked about. People just do not trust this Falcons team. A lot of the stuff they do this year is fluky. They're inconsistent. Their defense has
It's their
zero pass
defense.
rush.
Their
Like,
defense, that is why. It's not about their offense. Like Kirk Cousins is playing great.
yeah,
Kyle Pitts is actually looking like the guy that they spent the
yeah,
number four
finally.
overall pick on. Like Bijan is running people over and juking people at the same time. Like Daryl Mooney looks amazing, right? But their defense is like they cannot get to the quarterback.
No. And that's going to be obviously a bonus to this Dallas team. And I wanted to be on Dallas because they're obviously going to be the more desperate team here. But sadly, I've ended up on the Falcons here just because of the number. I make this number 3. It's 2.5. So I'm going to end up taking the Falcons. But this game, like, I wouldn't bet it a lot of money on it just because it feels like just same that I had the feeling with the Bucks game. Whoever the ball last is going to win this game, right? It's going to be a close game just because neither defense is good, right? They neither defense can close games out. So that's the thing here. It's like, all right, I have other games I like more to bet, but Chad's right. Where his initial thought of the Cowboys, I think most professionals are going to come in on the Cowboys. So I'm not rushing to bet this Atlanta number right now, but that right now is the side I'm showing value on, unfortunately.
Ugh, I don't want to say you fool the way hurt my feelings when I picked the Bengals last week
I'm your friend. I
in
was trying to help you.
in
There's an added
Scoops
character of
Roulette.
Chad. That was
My,
very added character.
you know what the problem was last week? I was not feeling great. Like my
I know. I
whole,
just can't believe you took a favor there. You had these dogs you loved, and they were great picks, and you didn't pick them. It was just
I
bizarre
actually
to
thought
me.
about this morning. Like last week, we loved the Browns, we loved the Raiders, you loved the Jags. I didn't
You
love the
loved the
Jags.
Colts, though, which was, again, that was a sharp number. That was a
We
sharp
loved the
pick.
Colts. I think I had the Colts though as my exec decision. I try
Yeah.
not to like double up on my exec decision and my Scrooge roulette. And like normally I try to prepare on Thursdays and like, okay, what's my Scooch roulette pick going to be? And I'll make notes on it. And for some reason I didn't do it on Thursday. And then I
Mm.
saw Cincinnati and like had circled it and like, I just love Joe Burrow so much. I
We all
believed in
do.
him so much. I got caught.
You did.
I got, as they say. All right. I mentioned at the top of the show that we are coming to you live from our Tommy John home studios. Great games start with great underwear, and Tommy John makes the greatest, our sponsor, Tommy John, makes the most comfortable underwear I've ever worn. They changed my life. When you're truly comfortable, Simon, you can bet better. If you, our listeners, love Simon and I, if you love this show, you love Tommy John, get 25% off your first order right now at TommyJohn.com/favorites. Save 25% at TommyJohn.com/favorites. All right. Miami at Buffalo. Buffalo's a 6.5 point favorite. I loved it on Sunday night when it was at 6. I bet it at 6. You can see that in the Action Network app. Tua is 2-10 straight up, 3-8-1 against the spread away from home versus winning teams in his NFL career. Before the season begins, Evan Abrams, director of research, everyone loves him. He gives like massive packets. If you read his story on a weekly basis, you can see all the data that he has. So he gives all this information on quarterbacks, coaches, teams, trends. And then I'll like make my notes and I'll pull them aside and I'll make my own little packets for individual things. So I have been waiting for Tua to go to the Bills so we could talk about this game because he's been especially bad against the Bills. 0-7 straight up, 1-6 versus Josh Allen. I just have no reason not to bet the Bills here. I think you're on mute, buddy.
I would say, is that on the road or is that at home? That record. I'm assuming it's at home that Josh Allen's dominated, but it could be on the road as well. I mean,
He's
I just
been
had that.
it's 0-7 straight up, 1-6 against Josh Allen. So that's throughout his career.
Oh wow, because I was gonna say I will never forget we had a cover where basically the Bills outgained Miami by like 300 yards in Miami. I mean, you still covered that Miami bet. So I'm shocked they didn't win that game as well. But um, we had this one circled. I didn't care if the professionals were coming on Miami and that they were going to try to bully us again this week. There is no way this isn't one of our five. Like, I love this favorite. I bet this favorite. I will have this in a ton of teasers. I'm happy to lose money on this type of bet just because Josh Allen has been so good to me in these type of spots in this exact kind of game where it's his team versus a bad team. I get it. They're desperate. This is for their season. Josh Allen coming off a huge road win. You expect them to have a letdown game. I don't think so. I think they view this as a divisional game with a team they do not like and a game they know if they win this, they basically close out their division for the most part. Midway through the season. I mean, they're about to close out their division on whatever it is, November 3rd, November 2nd,
Yep.
which has just got to be the greatest feeling ever as a fan. So, yeah, I love this for the Bills. It's a statement game. It's a great number right now, especially there's a couple of books showing 6 still. I mean, I love that. Maybe me and you will get lucky and we'll get a 5.5 come Thursday in our contest would just be an absolute gift. So, yeah, the matchup wise, there are ways that Miami can attack this Bills defense. We've seen that the Bills defense does have some weaknesses, but overall, offensively, I love this matchup for the Bills. Like, I can't see them punting more than twice in this entire game. Like, there's just so many ways for them to attack it. And we've seen it time and time again. Like, even going back to that game they played early in the year, sure, it was a little fluky, right? Because Tua had those really bad turnovers and then got banged up. But they were getting dominated in a bunch of different ways in that game. Like, they were forcing Tua in uncomfortable positions because they've just seen that offense so many times at this point, right? I mean, that's the thing with being in the same division. And there is no defense for Josh Allen. Like, when Josh Allen's on, you can't beat him. And he didn't even have that great of a game last week. It was really about this new identity, right, with Joe Brady, and they can run the ball down your throat, which is what they could do here against this Miami team. So, yeah, they got Cook, Ray Davis, whoever it is, the running back on this team right now. It doesn't matter, right? As long as you have Josh Allen back there, and that counts for another defender to be in the box that has to watch Josh Allen, that's always going to be an advantage to the running back. So, yeah, clearly people can tell I love this matchup for this Bills team, and I'm on this number.
Simon, I'm making it my executive decision.
There you go. Love it.
In 2 games this year, Tua has played, 2.5 games, one of those games against the Bills when he got knocked out. He has struggled to barely beat the Jags, not a very good team, and lost to the Cards, a mediocre team. To me, that makes the Dolphins a middling to not very good team.
Yeah.
And the Bills dominate middling to not very good teams. They are not a team that plays down to their opponent. Even when they are losing in the first half, they find a way to get on that streak and they go 4-5 scores in the second half. A bigger-ish number just does not worry me with Josh Allen in this
No,
spot.
we talk luck all the time. We will need to get unlucky to not cover this number, honestly.
Yep.
Like, we would need Josh Allen to have 2 turnovers and 2 have the game of his life for us not to cover this number. Just that's how much I think of a mismatch this is for this Bills Miami team.
All right, exec decision is in. Buffalo Bills. I liked it at -6, 6.5. Los Angeles Chargers at the Cleveland Browns. This one has come down a lot since the games ended on Sunday night. It was Cleveland minus. It was the Chargers -3.5. Now down to 2.
Yeah.
More money on the Browns than
Should be.
tickets, which is interesting to me. This to me feels like an overreaction to the Browns. Like, people are either deciding, okay, the Browns are finally going to be the Browns that we expect them to be. Their defense is getting healthy. They're going to
Yeah.
be dominant. And Jameis is going to play the way Kevin Stefanski, who I think is a great coach and has just gotten kind of screwed with this Deshaun Watson bullshit. He finally gets a guy who's closer to what he needs. I'm going to go back to 2 plays. Jameis fumble from a sack late in the first half gives the Ravens the lead 10-6 in that game. Jameis overthrowing a receiver, Kyle Hamilton just dropping the ball, that would have ended the Browns' chances to win that game. I am worried I will get that Jameis, and in a closer game, I don't know if I can afford those kind of mistakes.
Yeah, and I think the professional early money though was smart. It was the right side. They should have taken Jameis as a 3 point dog or a 3.5 point dog at home against this Chargers team that I agree with you. Their whole identity is we wait for you to make the mistake and that's how we win. Like they don't make the mistakes. They hang in these games, these ugly games, and then eventually they get you because they have a great running attack. And Herbert, who we know is one of the better quarterbacks in the league, he's just inconsistent. But this year, they can hide that with a great running offense. You don't need Justin Herbert to be a top 5 guy right now. That's the Chargers' identity is like, okay, we don't need to have the ball in this guy's hands all the time. We can rely on other guys and a little bit of gimmick, right? A lot of their offense, because they don't have great receivers, it's a lot of gimmick offense, a lot of motion, a lot of just trying to get their third tight end wide open for a 5-yard completion. Like that's what their identity's been, and it's been working. So you're right. To me, the numbers come down enough now where I could be on this Chargers side, but I'm not in a rush
Yep.
to bet it. I think the public will keep coming in with the professionals on this Cleveland side just because these are honestly, pretty evenly matched teams, Chad. Like when I break this down, I have this number at Chargers -1. So right now I am showing value on the Browns. But you just nailed it. I feel like I got away with one last week with
Yeah.
Jameis. Like there was just a couple plays, like you said, and that was the best game we could get from Jameis. He threw for over 300 yards. He was just locked in that second half, and that drop by Kyle Hamilton. That's why our money line hit on this Browns team. Like they should not have won that game. The guy literally caught that 3 different times. He caught it 3 different times and still somehow dropped it. So you're right. Like I got to put my bias aside because I do want to take the Browns here. It's like I feel like they have a whole new rejuvenation here, and they know they can kind of not get their season back, but they can. Like there is a path for them to somehow get to a wild card, and to get there, they have to win this game. So I wanted to be on the Browns, but you're right. The numbers probably move too much. Even though I'm still showing value on the Browns here, it's going to hit a point where it's like I'm going to feel more confident, comfortable taking this Chargers team. So I'll just be patient here, wait for this number to keep coming down. I'll take the Chargers team that makes you make mistakes, and this is the perfect opportunity for them to play against a team with Jameis Winston.
I'm glad you say that because in the notes here, I wrote at this point, I'm starting to lean Chargers. Like I haven't bet it yet, but I look at the Chargers and I just feel like they're competent.
Yeah,
They're not making the game-changing mistakes. They're winning the games they're supposed to win. Uh, don't listen, Lad
but
McConkey.
if they're the type of team too, if they get down 10 here, they're dead.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think it'll be really hard for them to get down 10.
Yeah.
Uh, and I look like the Ravens defense and the Ravens secondary is the perfect antidote to Jameis Winston's craziness.
Yeah.
Like he can look great against a secondary like that. I don't think that it'll be the same outcome playing against the Chargers defense. So I'm leaning Chargers, but we're not there yet. We're
No.
not there yet. Still owe us a Simon Says. Washington at the New York Giants. Another dreadful performance. Last night against the Steelers, they were 6.5 point dogs. Every model, every trend, everything said, take the Giants, take the Giants, take the Giants. I was waiting on that game because I felt like it was going to get back to 6.5. So I hadn't bet it.
Mm.
And then my wife and I took our son out to dinner, and dinner went much longer than I expected. And so I just forgot about the game. Like we were at dinner, so I never bet it. And I'm like, thank freaking God, because that would have been an excruciating game to bet. And
Yeah.
now I know you talked about wanting to be on the Giants on Sunday night. Uh,
Gotta.
Andrew Thomas is not playing. The home dogs are terrible this year. The
Awful.
Giants continue to look like they're in a free fall. Um, Explain to me. Just tell me.
Yeah, and I shockingly, it's just rare that I don't watch a football game. But I basically took Pittsburgh's money line, whatever it was, say it was minus 250. And I go, all right, I have zero interest in watching this game. I'm just going to watch the World Series. And even though the World Series game wasn't great, I'm so happy I watched it rather than watching this game. Just because I think at halftime it was 9-9, and there was
Yeah.
like three different touchdowns were called back on weird penalties and a bunch of different stuff. And I just that game, I can't believe that Giants didn't honestly cover. Like they had the ball at the end of the game, they're driving to score the backdoor cover, and of course Daniel Jones throws an interception because it is Daniel Jones. So I'm with you. Like we've talked about this year, the bad teams are bad. They are just really bad right now. And if this was 3, 4 years ago, Chad, this would be a no-brainer. Hammer this. Commanders off a Hail Mary now on the road in a divisional game against a team that once again did not cover. You're right. It's like, this is not for the faint of heart. This is what the professionals do. This is what I do. I have to take this number. So I'm not going to force it in. There's another game I like more that I'm going to try to force in on you, but this is not the one. But I will see it come Thursday if you come around on this one. But it's like, this is how I make my living, these type of games. This is such an incredible spot to fade this Commanders team, especially where Daniel Jones only plays good against one team. Me and you joke about this. It's the damn truth if you go through his history. It's the Commanders. Like, he plays well against them. Doesn't matter if it's on the road, at home. The Giants historically have matched up well with the Commanders as well, not just defensively, but offensively as well. So there's a lot to like here, but I get where you're coming from. They're so bad right now, this Giants team. And I think, though, you saw that game against Pittsburgh, they did make adjustments for being down key guys in the offensive line, right? I mean, as great as TJ Watt is, they kind of neutralized him in that game, right? They kept going away from him to the other side, and anytime they knew he was going to come upfield, they put a tight end out there, block him down, then just run right through that huge gaping hole that TJ was giving up. So I do think, they do have some great coaching on the Giants. They can make these adjustments, but the biggest one is just, I want to fade this Washington team so bad, Chad. It's just, they got so lucky last week. I know people think the Bears got lucky, even though they had a walk-in touchdown. They fumbled at the 1 and then drove the field again and scored another touchdown. People were like, oh, you guys were just lucky to even be in that position. Were we? Were we the lucky ones being on Chicago, or should they have been up 21-12 at the end of that game? So I'm not bitter. People can tell I'm not bitter at all. But yeah,
Wait,
this
the
is
Bears?
a hard one for me because I really want to fade this Commanders team, but I'm not going to force our listeners to take these shitty divisional dogs just because I historically love this spot.
Wait, the Bears lost that game against the Commanders? Because I blacked out in the final 23 seconds of the game.
Smart man, keep looking forward.
So I don't know what you're talking about. I have
Yeah.
no memory of that whatsoever. I think you can actually see the blackout happening live if you go through and look for our clips
Well, my
on
favorite thing was people that watched that video, they're like, there's no way Simon bets real money on this game. Look how he barely even reacted. If he really lost a ton of money, he'd be so much more upset. I feel like people don't understand that I'm a professional bettor. How many more times do I need to tell people that this is what that was even the worst thing that happened to me this past week? So people were so upset I didn't overreact to it. It's just like, guys, I've seen it all. I mean, it brought back a memory. My worst bet, I didn't want to bring it up to you on Sunday night, but to me, our still worst bet ever, even that was awful, was one time me and Chad had the Cardinals minus 2.5, and they threw a Hail Mary pass. They won the game, and Chad called me up to celebrate. And I said, well, they didn't kick the extra point yet. We haven't covered anything. And they kneeled. Do you remember this? Arizona kneeled the ball down.
Yeah.
Didn't kick the extra point, and me and him lost by half a point. To me, that's still, even though this was terrible, that forever was why I was just forever burned by this whole thing with, just betting the 2.5. It's such a key number.
Look, I don't really go on Twitter anymore. It's become just a
Cesspool.
cesspool of like people shouting into the void. It's really become just disgusting. And but I do remember, having now known professional bettors for 25 years, I don't know any bettors who freak out when they lose a big game. And I don't
No.
know any bettors who freak out when they win a big game. Like, when I was freaking out as a fan, not as someone who had the game, right? Like, I could
Yeah.
give a shit about the bet I made. I just was like apoplectic that this team that I love, that I invest so much energy in, that I am like growing more and more attached to as I get older, and I have no kids in the house soon to be anymore. Like, you have memories of them, and it's like a connection, and it keeps me connected to friends and family, and like it's something we talk about. So I just want them to do well. And I've been with betters when they win $100,000. And you know what they do? They put the money back in play.
And you
That's
wouldn't even
it.
know it though. Like again, when I went big like that, you would never see me react, especially in a sports book.
That's
I
what I
would never
mean.
react. Yeah.
Like they don't overreact
I just
one
love
way
how
or the
people get
other.
upset about it. They're like, and it's just like, guys, I literally do this for a living. What do you, I'm not you. That's what I feel like people can't wrap their heads around. It's just, that reaction is how professionals react to those type of things. It's just another day at the fucking office losing that type of bet.
Well, listen, I don't mind the defensive line of the Giants against Jaden Daniels. Like the Bears have a similar pass rush, similar coverage capabilities, and Daniels had a pretty terrible game except for that one career-defining play. Um, so I don't hate this. I understand all the logic. Uh, I just worry about the trend right now of backing bad quarterbacks on bad teams is not in our
I'm
favor.
with you. It's not fun. This is not
A
a
little
fun one to bet
better.
on.
It was a little better last week, right? Jags,
We went 3-0 technically.
Jags, Colts, but 4-0. Jags, Colts, Browns, Raiders. Like the Raiders weren't in the contest, but we were on them. So it's coming back our way. For
Yeah,
the record, this is likely to be a luck rankings game favoring the Giants.
definitely.
All right, Chicago at Arizona. We talked about the Bears. You can actually track the change in the line in the Action app with the end of the Bears game last night, end of the Bears game 2 nights ago. The Cards were 1 point dogs at 6:46 when the Bears were still down 12-0. At 7 p.m., they were half-point dogs. At 7:30 p.m., the Bears were 1 point. The Cards were 1 point favorites. And at 7:34, about when the Bears scored the go-ahead touchdown, they were 1 point dogs again. As soon as the game ended, the Cards were favorites again. This is a pros Joe's game right now with the pros on the Bears.
Yeah.
So their defense, despite the Hail Mary fiasco, is really good at pressuring the quarterback, really good in the red zone.
Yeah, Bears are the better team. They should be favored in this game. I want nothing to do with this game. I want to see how the Bears team reacts to that type of thing. And we already talked about this is either going to derail their season or this is going to make their season. They're going to be in a wild card team. And like that's a defining game, especially for Caleb Williams, where I don't know if you saw the video of him at the end of that game. Not the best look, but again, he's a young kid who's going to have to learn how to lose in life. Like he's been a winner his whole life. I guess he did lose a little bit at USC, but overall, he's just a guy who always wins. And now we have to see how he can handle these brutal losses because, as a Bears fan, this is just the beginning, brother. It's like that meme, first time. Like, he's got to get used to this. The Bears are a suffering franchise. They have losses like this. It's just how it is with this team. Certain teams are just built this way. And Arizona, the flip side, how do they handle winning 2 straight, Chad? Like, this is a team now in total control of this division. If they can win this game and keep it going, who's to say they can't win this division? Like they do. We and you talked before the year. We loved Kyler and the talent they surrounded with an offense. Our question was their defense, which still is pretty bad. So
Yeah.
matchup wise, the Bears should be favorite. The professional money should be coming on them because they're not like me and you. They're not getting drowned into this. How are these teams going to react to this? So they're just simply playing their model, and the model is going to say the Bears are the better team. There should probably be -2, -2.5 on this Bears team. But yeah, I'm too close to this one. I want to take Arizona, but I'm just going to stay away from this game. I'll probably end up betting Arizona if it does get up to 2, but right now I have no real read on this one.
That's interesting. I thought like my instinct immediately bet the Bears. Like I had no concerns with that whatsoever. And it's not because I think Eberflus is a great coach. I think the Bears should have let him go and they should have given Caleb, some stability with a coach who they believed would be there for several years.
Yeah.
Not going to be pushing him out after one bad year because he's already proven he can't do it. I just feel like it's a good spot. Like the Bears should not be underdogs in this game. If it got to Bears +2, I would be very comfortable playing the Bears as underdogs here. Jags at Philly. You were leaning Jags. Jags are 7.5 point underdogs. You were leaning Jags on Sunday night. How come?
I just got thought the numbers too big, and then I found out that basically the whole Jaguars wide receiving core is just gone. Christian Kirk, done. My guy, Brian Thompson Jr., might miss 2 to 4 weeks. That reflects this line and the movement. Like this, to me, the
Yeah.
number is going to be too big. And now it's like, okay, this actually makes perfect sense now because, Trevor Lawrence, as bad as he's been, he does have some great, he did have some great weapons on the outside. And a lot of that has been on him. He's even said it so himself. He's been inconsistent this year. Then they got Evan Ingram's back, which is a huge deal. His tight end is just a monster. And, Trevor Lawrence knows how to throw it to him. It's like, all right, put the ball up higher than anyone else. Evan Ingram's incredible at high points on the ball. I don't know if Evan's going to make up for them losing their number one, number two receiver, though. And that to me is what's standing out here. So a game I'm happy to avoid now because it's so big. If you want to tease the Eagles, I'll tease them with you. Like, this is a good teaser number. Eagles are going to win this game. I just could see it with this Jags team keeping it close because this Eagles team, I mean, last week was a breakaway from the norm. They actually blew a team out, but they have not been that team. And a couple of professionals' view is that this Eagles team, they went to that bye week. Fangs made adjustments to the defense. The guys seem like they got more comfortable. These rookies have been playing better for the Eagles defensively, and just everyone seems like they know that system more. And then offensively, Hurts has not turned the ball over. That's been the difference for them, right? He's not making the stupid turnovers. When he does throw 50-50 balls downfield, it's 50-50 where his guy's going to catch it or no one's catching it, right? He's kind of figured out what he needs to be this season. And they're the number 2 team right now in the NFL in rushing. Obviously, the Ravens are way ahead of them. They're ahead of everyone. They've been incredible running the ball, but we've seen Saquon and Hurts have kind of figured this thing out, right? They've really figured out how to run it with both these guys, and this is a nice matchup for Saquon against this team and the Jaguars that cannot stop the run. So I get why this number's moved up so much, and I'm happy to pass on the chat. It's just I have no faith betting the Jaguars again. And like you said last week, kind of got away with one last week, so I'm not trying to roll the dice once again on this Jaguars team.
And by the way, none of us are immune from mistakes in our very limited PTI segment. Earlier today, I said Daryl Mooney. I meant Darnell Mooney. Simon just said Brian Thompson. He meant Brian Thomas, receiver for the Jags. The LA Rams at Seattle Seahawks on Sunday night. You loved the Rams at +1.5. It almost immediately moved to Rams +1, and then they were favorites pretty quickly after that. It has bounced around. Some books have the Rams as dogs right now. Others have them as faves. The pros seem to be on the Seahawks right now. Teams coming off a loss of 3 touchdowns or more the following week, 56% against the spread since 2018. Do we still love the Rams here?
Still love them. I'd still bet them because it's under the key number, which we always talk about too. So right now, the highest I'm seeing in Los Angeles is -1.5 at a couple books. Still love the Rams. I just don't think the books have updated their line enough to having Puka and Cooper Kupp back. To me, they didn't adjust to it last week. They haven't adjusted to it this week as well. So I'm still getting value here. And I don't think they've downgraded the Seahawks team enough where, coming into the year, people thought they were going to be much better defensively just because of the head coaching hire. And then another year of Geno in this offense should be better. Geno has been passing, has incredible passing yards, but he's struggled in the red zone this season. And defensively, this is a team that just can't stop the run. And, as much as we want to talk about how great the Rams are through the air, their whole identity is built through the run. And everything they do is predicated off of that. So unless there's some bad weather coming into this one, and I'm missing this right now because it's so early in the week, how do you not love the Rams to be able to move the ball against them? Like the weapons they have, I think we both agree that Vikings defense is much better than that Seahawks defense. And especially all the exotic blitz packages that the Vikings defense did, all the different looks they can give you. Stafford's immune to it. He's seen it all. That's why I talked about it. I think veteran quarterbacks had a huge advantage playing against that Vikings team. Guys who have seen it all, they don't get flustered by those type of looks. Same here can go for the Seahawks. I don't know what the Seahawks defense can do attack-wise to stop this offense in the LA. On the flip side, this Rams team, Aaron Donald was a huge loss. Their front four has actually been pretty good this year. Like, they're not that terrible that people thought they were going to be coming to the season. Like, their real weakness is their young secondary. But I think the Seahawks are still going to be out DK Metcalf, which we saw last week was a big deal. Like, there was a noticeable difference of them not being able to attack the ball downfield. And the Bills, instead of having to have both safeties back, They were only had to have one drop back, and they could stack the box against Kenneth Walker, which is a big deal. Like the Seahawks want to feed him, they want to run the ball. When you take that away and put it on Geno, we see that just doesn't work. He's not that type of quarterback. So, still like this number. It's still under 2. I'll still bet the Rams. Obviously, I hope everyone listens Sunday night because it's nice when you get the +1.5. It's such a key number, especially with this Rams team.
Yeah, everything you're saying makes total sense. I think we asked ourselves last week, we thought the Bills Seahawks was a statement game for the Seahawks
Yeah.
in that are they going to be defined as a good team or a mediocre team? And the Bills, we've said, they struggle against the good teams and they dominate the mediocre teams.
Yeah.
And they dominated. They
Dominated
dominated
them.
so badly that the Seahawks were fighting with each other on the sidelines. So the Rams are steady. They're veteran. They have a really good offense.
It's the turning point of their season, right? Don't you feel the same way? It's the turning point of their season.
Matthew Stafford doesn't get rattled. Like you said, we love Stafford. We've loved Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams, between the tackles, is really, really good. So yeah, I think we still like the Rams here. Rams are on the list. Rams are on the list.
Look at this. This week, people look at all our favorites. See, we can change.
Yeah, right? Well, the Rams, they may be dogs. Like, we don't know yet.
That's true.
Detroit at Green Bay. We haven't had a Simon Says yet. Detroit at Green Bay. Green Bay is +3.5. Obviously, Jordan Love is the question here. He's day to day with a groin injury. Shout out Sam Malone to all the old heads out there. If not for that, we would want to bet Green Bay. Perfect fade spot for the Lions. They just dropped 52. One of the 2 best teams in the NFL. The best ATS team in a generation. They're outside, which isn't a strength for them. The public loves them. Part of me says we don't even wait for the news on Love. Like,
Here we go.
maybe we get the Packers at the biggest number we can.
Simon Says, grab it
no.
right now. Packers +3.5.
Wow.
And honestly, it's because the MRI came back negative. As soon as I saw that news, I was just, there's no way, unless Jordan Love's really that banged up, he misses this game. Like, people don't understand how insane a competitor a lot of these people are. And Jordan Love's right up there with it. He is so competitive. You think he wants to miss this game where he knows this is going to decide the division? Like, this is a must win for Green Bay if they want to win this division. Must win. And you nailed it. Detroit, how can we, is there a team we could sell higher on right now? This is like the peak of all peaks. Like, they've been incredible. Everything's clicking. They're the best team in football. They have the best offensive football people. No, we are not doubting that in any way. This is the game where Aiden Hutchinson not being there matters. This is the difference. And, to me, there's a way to attack this Detroit defense, and that's why I don't mind if it's Malik Willis, because it is the run game. If it is him and they're having to do that read option that he's done so perfectly this season, I mean, whatever LaFleur did with this kid, like we talk all the time how important coaching is, this right here is the definition of. This kid was lost. He was out of the league pretty much. What did he get traded for? 7th round pick to Green Bay? And he's come in now. I think you can say, even last week, he counted for that win. He's won them 3 games this year, which is just...
He had a 51-yard pass on their drive.
It's incredible.
He only threw for 56 yards in the game.
Yeah. Because, again, LaFleur knows that, like, this guy, either you can scheme it up where he gets people open, or you can just do that read option. He's such a good runner that once he gets in there, it's just their offense takes on a whole different attitude. So I don't care who the quarterback is. I'm making the Simon Says because I do think if Love is cleared by Thursday, I could easily see this number getting down to 3 and not get off the ski number because, like we talk all the time, there's certain games every week that are trap games. This feels like a trap game. Like the public is going to come in so heavy on this Detroit team without realizing that golf is different outdoors. This team's personality is different outdoors. And how much regression are they due for offensively? Like they can't keep this up. Statistically, it's impossible to keep doing what they've done. I mean, me and you have been around long enough. We know all the numbers. Teams just don't do what they do every week, right? Eventually, they do come back down to earth, and this is the perfect prime spot for that. So, a nice buy low spot on Green Bay, right? Bettors are pissed off at them. I think they had the same view as Chad of like, if you had that -3.5 ticket last week on Green Bay, you were pissed at this team. They should have won that game in every which way. That that rookie running back, I think he's a rookie. He laid down instead of walking it in, right? Jaguars are going to let him score a walk-in
Yeah, yeah.
touchdown. He was smart enough to lay down. Bettors don't think that way. They're pissed off. So not only does Detroit have a ton of love from the public side, they probably have some love from professional sides who are a little pissed off with this Green Bay team. And that's where I swoop in. Now, I am pissed. This number did get up to 4.5 at a couple books. And we saw after the MRI of Jordan Love, it moved the whole point. It came back down to this number here at 3.5. So obviously wish we had gotten the best possible number at 4.5. I'm still so happy taking this at 3.5. I make this number 2.5. So getting a full point of value, especially it costs two key numbers in this type of matchup. I love this for us, for listeners. And it's just, this is what this show is built on. Betting this type of spot here where we know come Sunday, it's going to be 90% of the money, 90% of the tickets all on Detroit. The sports books need Green Bay to have a winning day, all that nonsense. But that's the stuff we lean into here because we're getting a free point of value here. So, I love Green Bay in this spot.
Your enthusiasm is infectious. I hope the line doesn't move so much before we're off the air that I can't get this number. But we're Green Bay 3.5. Simon says Green Bay plus 3.5. Time to fade the boys from Motor City, who we love. No disrespect. I think they're going to the Super Bowl.
We're just Detroit. Riding the wave.
Just riding the wave. Indy at Minnesota. Minnesota's a 6-point favorite. I don't really have a read on this one yet. No.
Oh my God. Gotta love the Vikings here. Anthony Richardson against Brian Flores. Holy shit. Talk about mismatch. Terrible matchup for this Colts team. And it's funny too, because I know some professionals who love the Colts. They've come in on the Colts. They like the number. They think Minnesota is about to go right down the other side of the hill, right? They rode the hill all the way up. Now they're ready to fade this Minnesota team and come back down their side. So I'm getting a Minnesota team off a loss with extra time against a quarterback that has the same completion percentage as, who is it, Ryan fucking Leaf, names you were giving out last week? Like, yeah. And again, if you go throw the tape on, though, Anthony Richardson is not as bad as people perceive. Like, a lot of this stuff is out of his control, but he is bad. Like, there is no denying that he is bad right now. And I mean, you talk coming to the year, this is this kid's rookie year. I know it does not say that on paper, but it is. He just needs more repetition, more starts in the league. That's why people call him for Joe Flacco. The Colts are not trying to just win this year. They're trying to win for the next 10 years. It does no good to sit Anthony Richardson. You need him to suffer and go through these reps. This is a game he's going to need to suffer through. Like, I can't imagine him trying to deal with everything Brian Flores is going to throw at him in this matchup, especially with extra time to prepare. So this number is a number I'm not in a rush to bet just because I know there are professional smart groups out there coming in on Minnesota, on the Colts. But if this does dip to 5.5 at any book, I'm going to grab it right away on Minnesota. I like them in this spot, like the number, and like the matchup for them, especially offensively. They can not only run the ball down this Colts team's throat, they're going to be able to scheme guys open. We know this Colts defense is not that well. Like, no. I mean, last week they had guys open. It was just CJ, not that he was flustered. He was just kind of missing guys, right? That was just a game that he wasn't his best at. So I know it's tough for me to take someone that's such a big favorite in this type of spot, but I am comfortable just because of Flores in this defense.
See, the reason why I had no read on it is because the Colts rush offense is so elite.
Yeah.
So dominant. I worry that they'll just figure out ways to keep the ball out of Richardson's hands.
And we talked about that's Minnesota's weakness, right? Running the ball down there, running the ball.
That's why I'm sort of like something here, like Minnesota's struggling. They're getting exposed a little bit.
They are. We talked. I don't know if we talked about it. Maybe I talked about other guys, but Minnesota, you've probably seen this. Them on script, Sam Darnold offensively is incredible, right? That's why they've been dominating these first quarters. Once it goes off script, we've seen them kind of struggle now these last couple of weeks. So I get where you're coming from with that, but my whole view of it is if we can get the Vikings team we've known this year and they get up 10-0 or 14-0, that to me that would be game over because by then the Colts would have to abandon their run. So you're right for your hesitation here. Obviously, there's other favorites I like more. It's rare for me to really like a big favorite like this, and I do like Minnesota in this spot.
Tampa Bay visiting Kansas City. Kansas City's a 9-point favorite. All I'll say is I like the Bucs here.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to do it to our fans, though. I don't know if I can do it to them to make them take this one because I was getting a lot of messages about the Raiders, especially when they were down by 14 and people were just losing their mind. I just said, be patient. we'll get there. But in the back of my mind, I was like, are we going to get there? Well, like I'm banking a lot on Gordon Minshew here to get us there. Same goes for this Bucks matchup. We know the deal. Like they're a totally different team without Mike Evans. We saw it last week, and Baker can only do so much. You can only run the ball so much and throw it to your running backs and tight ends so much. So I don't know, Chad. The number is huge. I'm with you that it's too big. I make it 7. It's 8.5. So yes, I'll be on the Bucks, but I cannot make this one of our 5.
I feel like we're going to have to discuss it again on Thursday. To me, the big difference, like, I don't want to be fooled by what Baker did against the Falcons when they can't get any pressure. And so he
Right.
has sort of those safety valves to the running backs, to the tight end. Kate Otten had an amazing game. Uh, the Chiefs defensive backs much better than the
Yeah.
Falcons. The Chiefs pressure much better than the Falcons. They're getting John Uche from the Patriots. So like there are things that bring me hesitation. So I don't want to get too enthusiastic about the Bucks.
No.
But from a number side, it's the Bucks or nothing.
It is, but again, it's another game where if you just tease the Chiefs down, I feel like that's just the smarter move in this one. It's
All right, you
just
know what? I'm not even going to put it on the list for Thursday.
good.
It's off the list. We got
Yeah.
10 other games we can talk about on Thursday. Simon says is Green Bay plus 3.5. Get it before Jordan Love is officially confirmed as playing. Even if he's not, we still like it. We both like it. Exec decision, Buffalo Bills taking on Tua in Buffalo, -6 if you can get it. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. And now new Bet365 customers get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Sign up using promo code favorites. Deposit $10, place a bet for $5, get $200 in bonus bets. Those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. Simon and I will return with the next episode of The Favorites on the Action Network YouTube page Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, to cover our Week 9 best bets. Download us from Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you get your pods. Rate, review, subscribe, leave us 5 stars, say whatever you want. Feedback is a gift. Until next time, love you.